The kitchen smelled of chamomile and old wood. A single bulb hung above the table, swaying like a slow pendulum. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in late October. Outside, frost painted the window in delicate ghosts. Inside, the fridge hummed the only music they needed. She sat in her wheelchair, blanket tucked to her chin, eyes bright as the girl he'd married in 1953. Her hands thin, veined like autumn leaves, rested on the armrests. Arthritis had curled her fingers years ago, but tonight they uncurled, reaching. "Dance with me, Tom," she said. Her voice was a thread, but it pulled him across 6 to 9 years. He was 9 to 2, knees creaking louder than the floorboards. His back bent like a question mark, yet he stood. The walker stayed by the door. He didn't need it now, not for this. "Edna," he said, soft as the steam rising from her untouched tea, "there's no music." She smiled, the same crooked smile that had stopped his heart at the county fair when she was 17 and he was 19 and the world was wide open. "We are the music." He took her hands. They were cold but familiar. He lifted her light as a promise and she rose. The wheelchair rolled back an inch, wheels whispering. Her slippers touched the linoleum. She leaned into him, forehead to his collarbone. He smelled her lavender soap, the same since 1962. They began to sway. No count. No steps. Just the slow orbit of two bodies that had learned each other's gravity. His hand at the small of her back, once strong enough to lift hay bales, now trembling but sure. Her cheek against his shirt, listening to a heart that had beaten for her since Eisenhower was president. The fridge clicked off. Silence bloomed. He hummed. Not a song with words, just the tune they danced to at their wedding. Moon River. Shed worn daisies in her hair. He'd been too nervous to kiss her until the preacher said, "You may." Then he'd kissed her like the world was ending and beginning in the same breath. Her breath hitched. A small sound like a bird settling. "Remember the night Johnny was born?" She whispered into his neck. He nodded. 1957. Snow so deep the midwife arrived on skis. Edna had screamed once, then laughed when the baby crowned with a full head of black hair. "Looks like his daddy," Shed said, and Tom had cried so hard the doctor thought something was wrong. "I held him," Tom said now, voice rough, and thought, "This is what forever feels like." They turned barely a shuffle. Her slipper caught the edge of the rug. He steadied her, always steadying her. Through miscarriages, through the war that took his brother. Through the year the crops failed and they ate beans for months. Through her mother's Alzheimer's, when Edna bathed her every night and sang the same lullaby until the old woman forgot her own name but not the tune. "I was scared," she said suddenly. "Of what, love?" "That I'd forget you." Her eyes glistened. "They said the dementia might come for me too. But I see you, Tom, clear as the day you fixed my bicycle chain with a paperclip." He laughed, a sound like dry leaves. "You rode into the ditch anyway, because you were watching." Another turn. The bulb flickered. Shadows danced on the walls, two silhouettes, young again. She grew heavier in his arms, not much, just enough. He adjusted, pulling her closer. Her breathing slowed, matching the rhythm of his heart. Thump, thump, like a metronome counting down. "Edna," he murmured, "I'm here, tell me the ocean story again." She smiled against his chest. "We were 25. Took the train to Brighton with 5 pounds and a picnic. You carried me into the waves because I was afraid of jellyfish. Said you'd fight the sea for me. I would, you did. When the tide pulled, you held tighter. I never felt safer." Her voice faded to a thread. He kept swaying. The kitchen clock ticked. 11:52. "Tom, yes, darling." "I'm tired, I know. Will you be all right?" He swallowed. The lump in his throat was the size of every unsaid "I love you." "I'll be lost," he admitted. "But I'll find my way. You taught me how." She lifted her face, her eyes still blue, still oceans searched his. "Kiss me like the first time." He did, soft, slow. "The way you kiss someone you're terrified of breaking." Her lips were cool, but they moved with memory. When they parted, she sighed a sound of homecoming. Her knees buckled. Gently, he lowered her to the floor. The blanket pooled like moonlight. He knelt, old bones protesting, and cradled her head in his lap. "Edna," she didn't answer, but her hand found his, fingers threading like vines. He felt her pulse flutter, flutter still. The fridge hummed back to life. A car passed outside, tires hissing on wet leaves. He rocked her, humming Moon River until the words came back, cracked but true. Two drifters off to see the world. Her grip loosened. One finger at a time, like petals falling. There's such a lot of world to see. The last note left his lips the same moment her chest stilled. Silence rushed in, thick as wool. He waited for the world to end. It didn't. The clock kept ticking. 11:59. He stayed there on the kitchen floor, holding her until the bulb burned out and dawn crept through the curtain.